She returned a lost wallet, not knowing it belonged to a billionaire. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us return to the main character. The rain starts without warning, the kind that turns sidewalks slick in seconds and presses the city into a gray hush. At a nearly empty bus stop on the edge of downtown, the main character stands with her jacket pulled tight, counting the minutes until the next route arrives. The schedule says 10 minutes. Her phone battery says 5%. Her wallet says almost nothing. She has been on her feet since before sunrise. 2 shifts, back to back. 1 coffee. No lunch. The soles of her shoes are thin, and the damp air creeps through them. She shifts her weight, trying to stay warm, trying not to think about the overdue rent notice folded into the pocket of her bag. A few feet away, a man sits on the bench under the flickering light. He looks tired in a way that has nothing to do with the weather. His coat is plain and worn at the cuffs. His shoes are scuffed. He keeps patting his pockets as if something is missing, then stopping himself, staring at the wet pavement. He does not ask anyone for help. He does not make eye contact. He just sits there, quiet, small in the rain. The bus stop empties. A car splashes past. The wind cuts sharper. When the bus finally pulls in, the man stands first. He reaches into his coat, then freezes. His hand goes back in again. His shoulders tense. Something has changed in his face, a tightness that says panic without a sound. He steps aside, letting others board, searching the bench, the ground, the trash can. Nothing. That is when she sees it. A wallet lies half hidden beneath the bench, dark leather soaked through, heavy enough to press the fabric down. She hesitates for half a second, because she is tired and cold and the world has taught her to mind her own business. Then she bends, picks it up, and feels the weight. It is heavier than it should be. She opens it just enough to find an address card tucked behind a stack of bills. There is no driver license in the front. No easy name. Just cash. A lot of it, folded neatly. Enough to erase the number in her pocket. Enough to make the night easier. Enough to make tomorrow possible. Her fingers pause. The man is still searching, now on his hands and knees, rain soaking through his coat. People step around him. No one stops. She closes the wallet. "Sir," she calls, raising her voice over the rain. "Excuse me." He looks up, startled, like he had forgotten other people were there. She steps closer and holds the wallet out, palm open, careful not to sound proud, careful not to sound accusing. "You dropped this," she says. He blinks. Then he takes it with both hands, as if it might disappear again. He opens it, sees the bills, the card, the order he left them in. Relief washes over his face so fast it almost looks like weakness. "I thought it was gone," he says. His voice is low, steady, controlled. "Thank you," she nods. That is all. He reaches into the wallet and pulls out a bill, then another, then stops himself. He holds one out anyway, rain running down his knuckles. "Please," he says. "At least let me." She shakes her head before he can finish. "I am good," she says, and it is not true, but it is honest. He studies her for a second longer than necessary, like he is measuring something that is not money. Then he slips the wallet back into his coat and steps aside to let her board first. On the bus, they sit a few rows apart. The heater hums. The windows fog. She stares out at the blurred lights, her stomach empty, her pockets light, her chest strangely calm. She does not look back. Behind her, the man watches her reflection in the glass. Thoughtful. Quiet. He has not been spoken to like that in a long time. Not without calculation. Not without a price. He folds his hands and looks down, as if committing the moment to memory. Neither of them knows it yet, but that small choice, made in the rain, has already started something neither of them can stop. The bus lurches forward, tires hissing against the wet asphalt, and the city slides past in streaks of yellow and gray. She grips the metal pole with one hand and her bag with the other, steadying herself as the heater rattles overhead. The warmth should feel comforting. Instead, it makes the hunger more noticeable. She gets off 3 stops later, the kind of neighborhood where streetlights skip corners and storefronts close early. The rain has eased into a mist, but the cold stays. She walks the last block with her head down, counting steps the way she counts hours on long shifts. 1, 2, 3. Keep moving. Her apartment building stands tired and narrow, brick darkened by years of weather. The front door sticks, as always. Inside, the hallway smells like old carpet and cleaning solution. She climbs the stairs slowly, calves aching, shoulders tight. By the time she reaches her floor, her phone buzzes once and then goes quiet. 5% becomes 0. She unlocks her door and steps into a room that barely fits her life. A narrow bed pressed against the wall. A small table with one chair. A kitchenette that hums louder than it cools. She sets her bag down and exhales. The kind of breath that feels like it has been waiting all day. On the table sits an envelope she has been avoiding. She does not open it right away. She knows what it says. The number has been sitting in her chest for weeks, heavy and exact. Rent due, late fee applied. Final notice. She opens the refrigerator and stares at the light. A carton of eggs with 2 left. A half bottle of water, mustard. Nothing else. She closes the door and leans her forehead against it. Just for a second. Not long enough to feel sorry for herself. Just long enough to breathe. She thinks about the wallet, not the money. The man, the way his hands shook when he thought it was gone. The way relief softened his face when she handed it back. She wonders where he is now. On another bus. In another cold room. She shakes the thought away. It is not her place to wonder. People pass through each other's days all the time. Most of them do not leave a mark. She heats water and pours it over a packet of instant noodles, then sits on the edge of the bed and eats slowly. She has learned how to make small things last. Each bite is measured. Each swallow is deliberate. When the cup is empty, she rinses it and sets it upside down to dry. Her phone stays dark. She lies back and stares at the ceiling, counting the faint cracks like a map. Tomorrow starts early, a double shift again. She will ask the manager if there are extra hours. She always asks. Sometimes there are. Sometimes there are not. Morning comes too fast. The alarm does not ring because the phone is dead, but her body wakes her anyway. Habit is stronger than rest. She showers quickly, dresses in clean clothes that are starting to show their age, and checks the mirror. She smooths her hair, squares her shoulders, and practices the same small smile she uses every day. Outside, the air is sharp and clean. The rain has washed the streets. She walks to the bus stop with purpose, ignoring the tightness in her stomach. She cannot be late again. At work, the pace is relentless. Orders stack up. Plates clatter. Voices overlap. She moves on instinct, weaving between tables, apologizing when she bumps a chair, thanking people who barely look at her. By mid-morning, her feet burn and her back throbs, but she keeps going. She always does. During a short break, she checks her phone after borrowing a charger. Messages load slowly. One from her landlord. Polite, firm, final. She locks the screen and slips the phone back into her bag. Later, as she clears a table near the window, she catches a reflection that makes her pause. Outside, across the street, a man stands under the awning of a closed shop. Plain coat, scuffed shoes, the same quiet posture. For a moment, she thinks she is imagining it, that her mind is filling in familiar shapes. Then he looks up, their eyes meet through the glass. He does not wave, he does not smile. He simply nods, once, like he is acknowledging something that has already happened. Something small, maybe. Something important. She feels a strange tightening in her chest, not fear, not excitement. Recognition. A customer calls for the check. She turns back to her work, the moment slipping away as quickly as it came. When she looks again, the spot under the awning is empty. She tells herself it means nothing. But all day, as she moves through orders and hours and the steady hum of survival. She cannot shake the sense that her quiet choice in the rain has followed her into the light. The next time she sees him, it is not an accident. It is 2 evenings later, just after the dinner rush thins, and the air inside the restaurant settles into a tired calm. She is wiping down the counter when the door opens and a cool draft slips in. She does not look up at first. Footsteps pause. Someone hesitates, like they are deciding whether to stay. Then she hears his voice. "Excuse me." It is the same low, careful tone she remembers from the bus stop. She turns, and there he is, standing near the door with his hands folded in front of him. Same plain coat, same scuffed shoes. Dry this time. Cleaner maybe, but still quiet, still trying to take up as little space as possible. For a brief moment, neither of them speaks. She feels it again, that tightening in her chest, the strange sense of recognition. Not excitement, not relief. Just familiarity, like seeing a face you did not expect to matter again. "You dropped your wallet," she says before she can stop herself, a faint smile tugging at her mouth. He returns it, just as faint. "You remembered." "I remember people," she says. Then she catches herself and looks away, embarrassed. "What can I get you?" He glances at the menu on the wall, then back at her. "Whatever is cheapest." She nods. "Coffee and a sandwich." "That sounds perfect." She rings it up and sets the cup in front of him. When she brings the sandwich, he thanks her again, quieter this time, as if the word costs something. She moves on to another table, but she can feel his presence like a steady weight in the room. Halfway through his meal, she notices him reach into his pocket and frown. He pats his coat, then his pants, then stops. He looks at the counter, then the floor beneath his chair. His movements are careful, deliberate, but there is a tension there she recognizes. When she passes by again, he looks up. "I think I might be short," he says. "I had enough earlier, but I may have miscounted." She glances at the register. The total is not much. She has covered worse for strangers who promised to pay it back and never did. She does the math in her head without meaning to. She has just enough for the bus home. "It is fine," she says. "You can pay next time." He freezes. "I did not ask for that." "I know," she says. "I am offering." 2 eyes. He studies her face, searching for something. Then he reaches into his wallet and pulls out a bill. He holds it out, hesitating. It is more than the total. Enough to matter. "Please," he says. "I do not like owing people." She pushes his hand back gently. "Then come back," she says. "That is all." He exhales slowly and slips the bill away. "Thank you." She nods and moves on, unaware of the small test that has just failed in her favor. Later, as she closes her section, she finds a folded napkin on the counter where he sat. For a moment, her heart sinks. She expects a note, an apology, something that turns kindness into a transaction. Instead, there is nothing written, just the napkin, neatly folded, with the corner pressed flat like someone took care. She throws it away and finishes her shift. Outside, the night is clear and cold. She walks toward the bus stop, shoulders hunched, mind already on tomorrow. Halfway down the block, she hears footsteps behind her. She turns, alert but not afraid. It is him again. "I wanted to say thank you properly," he says, keeping a respectful distance. "For the other night. And tonight." "You already did," she replies. He nods. Still, he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a business card. It is plain. No logo. No title. Just a name and a phone number printed in black. "In case you ever need help," he says, echoing her words from the bus stop. She looks at the card, then at him. For a second, she considers refusing. Pride flares, quick and sharp. Then she takes it and slips it into her bag without looking. "Have a good night," she says. "You too." They part ways under the streetlight, each walking in opposite directions. She does not notice him stop and watch until she disappears around the corner. She does not see the way his expression shifts, thoughtful and troubled, as he realizes that the more he tests her, the more he is the one being measured. And somewhere deep in his coat, the heavy wallet rests against his chest, no longer just a possession, but a reminder of a line he has already crossed. The next few days settle into a quiet pattern. He does not come every night. He does not linger when he does. When he shows up, it is usually during the slower hours, when the restaurant breathes between rushes and the clatter softens into background noise. He sits at the same table near the window, orders the same simple meal, and keeps to himself unless she speaks first. She tells herself it is coincidence. Still, she notices things. She notices that he always pays exact change now, never more, never less. She notices that he thanks the dishwasher when he passes the kitchen and holds the door for strangers without making a show of it. She notices that he listens more than he talks, and when he does talk, his questions are careful, almost cautious, like he does not want to take more than he is offered. One evening, as she refills his coffee, he asks, "How long have you worked here?" "Almost 2 years," she answers. "That is a long time." She shrugs. "It pays the bills, most of them." End quote. He nods, not pressing further. "Do you like it?" She thinks for a second. "I like being useful." The word surprises her as it leaves her mouth. Useful. She moves on before she can explain it, before it can turn into something heavier. Another night, the restaurant closes early due to a power issue. The staff filters out into the street, annoyed and tired. She pulls her jacket tighter as she steps outside and finds him waiting near the door, hands in his pockets. "Are you walking this way?" he asks, gesturing down the block. "For a bit," she says. They fall into step together. Not too close, not too far. The city hums around them, headlights passing, the smell of rain still faint in the air. "I never got your name," he says. She tells him. He says his own in return, simply, without emphasis. It sounds ordinary. It fits him. They walk 3 blocks before silence settles comfortably between them. She does not feel the need to fill it. Neither does he. At the corner, she stops. "This is me." He nods. "Thank you for the company." She smiles. "You are welcome." As she turns to leave, he hesitates. "May I ask you something?" She pauses. "Okay. Why did you help me that first night?" he asks. At the bus stop, she considers the question. There are many answers she could give. She could talk about how her mother raised her, or about bad nights she wishes someone had noticed. Instead, she chooses the simplest one. "Because you needed it," she says. He watches her for a long moment, then nods once. "Good night." "Good night." At home, she finds another message from her landlord. The tone is firmer now. She reads it twice and sets the phone down carefully, like it might break. She sits on the bed and stares at the wall, counting the seconds until the feeling passes. The next morning, she wakes earlier than usual and heads to the community library before work. It is warm there, quiet. She uses one of the computers to check job listings, scrolling through postings that require degrees she does not have or schedules she cannot manage. She applies to 2 anyway. When she leaves, she nearly bumps into him at the entrance. "Sorry," they say at the same time. He smiles. "I come here to read. It is cheaper than coffee." She laughs softly. "That is fair." They walk inside together and sit at separate tables, each pretending to focus. After a while, she feels his presence again, steady and familiar, like a song playing quietly in another room. Before she leaves, she stops at his table. "I am heading to work." He closes his book. "Good luck today." "You too," she says, then hesitates. "With whatever you are doing." He looks up at her, something unreadable in his eyes. "Thank you." As she walks away, she does not see him slip his phone out and type a brief message. His expression conflicted, thoughtful. She does not know that for him, this is no longer a casual observation. It is becoming a question he cannot avoid, and she, unaware of the weight she carries, steps back into the day, believing she is just living her life, not realizing she is quietly shaping someone else's. By the end of the week, her exhaustion has settled into something familiar. A dull ache she carries, the way some people carry keys. She moves through her days on rhythm alone. Wake, work, commute, sleep, repeat. And threaded quietly through it all is him. He keeps showing up. Not every day, not at the same time, but often enough that his presence becomes part of the background, like the hum of traffic or the rattle of the heater. When he does come into the restaurant, he never asks for her section. He never draws attention. He sits, eats, pays, and leaves. Always polite, always contained. Still, there are moments. One afternoon, a customer snaps at her over a delayed order, voice sharp enough to turn heads. She apologizes, steady and calm, even as her cheeks burn. From across the room, she feels eyes on her. Later, when she passes his table, he looks up and says quietly, "You handled that well." She shrugs. "It is part of the job." "It should not be," he replies. Then he stops himself, like he has said too much. "But you did." Another night, the dishwasher calls in sick. The kitchen backs up. Plates pile. The manager is stressed. She rolls up her sleeves without being asked and starts helping where she can. Hands moving fast, efficient. When she returns to the floor, she finds a fresh cup of water waiting at the counter, untouched. "For you," he says, not meeting her eyes. "Thank you," she answers, surprised. He hesitates, then reaches into his pocket. He pulls out a bill and sets it on the table, pushing it toward her with 2 fingers. "For the extra work," he says. "You earned it." She looks at the bill. It is not extravagant. It is not small. It is enough to make a difference. She slides it back. "You can," he says gently. "I want you to." She shakes her head. "I help because it is needed, not because I am paid twice." Something tightens in his expression. He nods and folds the bill away. "Understood." She moves on, unaware that she has just failed another test by passing it. Outside of work, life does not ease up. The landlord leaves a voicemail this time, no longer polite. The deadline is clear. The consequence is clearer. She listens once, then deletes it. There is no benefit to replaying what she cannot change yet. She picks up an extra shift on her day off and walks home in the dark. Counting steps again, the city quiet around her. At the bus stop, she sees him standing near the schedule board, hands in his coat pockets. He looks tired. Not the performative tiredness she sees in customers, but the real kind. The kind that sits in the shoulders. "Long day?" she asks. He nods. "Long week." They sit on the bench, leaving space between them. A woman nearby struggles with a stroller. One wheel stuck in a crack. Without a word, she stands and helps lift it free. The woman thanks her and moves on. He watches the whole thing. "You do that a lot," he says. She sits back down. "Do what?" "Step in," he replies. "When no one asks?" "If you oops," she considers it. "Someone has to." He looks away, jaw tightening, as if the answer lands heavier than he expected. When the bus comes, it is crowded. She swipes her card and steps back, realizing too late that she has miscounted the balance. The screen flashes red. Before she can speak, he taps his own card. "I have it," he says. She turns, surprised. "You do not have to." "I know," he says. "I want to." She hesitates, pride flaring, then lets it go. "Thank you." End quote. On the ride, they stand shoulder to shoulder, hands gripping poles. The city rocking beneath them. She feels the unspoken between them, the weight of small moments adding up to something neither of them names. When they get off at her stop, she nods toward the street. "This is me." He follows her gaze. "I am glad I ran into you," he says. "So am I," she answers, and means it. She walks away without looking back, unaware of the quiet conflict playing across his face. He has set out to observe kindness, to measure it, to see if it still exists without incentive. And here it is, steady and unremarkable, refusing every reward he offers. As he watches her disappear into the night, he realizes the truth he has been avoiding. The test is no longer about her. It is about how far he is willing to let it go. The invitation arrives, folded inside her apron, at the end of a long shift. She does not notice it at first. She is tired, thinking about the bus schedule and the empty space in her refrigerator. It is not until she gets home and empties her bag onto the small table that the thick card slips out and lands at her feet. An invitation. Heavy paper. Clean edges. A formal address printed in black. A charity gala downtown, the kind held in buildings she usually passes without looking up. She reads it twice, confused. There is no handwritten note. No explanation. Just a date and a time. She assumes it is a mistake. The next day at work, she sees him standing near the counter, quieter than usual, hands folded, eyes watchful. When she holds up the card, he nods once. "You should come," he says. "I think you have the wrong person," she replies. He shakes his head. "No, I do not." She almost laughs. "I do not belong at places like that." "You belong wherever you choose to stand," he says. Then looks away, as if the words escaped him. She considers refusing. Pride rises first, then caution. But curiosity follows, softer and more persistent. She thinks of the rent notice, of the way doors open for people who know how to knock. She nods once. The night of the event, she borrows a simple dress from a coworker and takes the bus downtown. The building glows against the dark, glass and light stacked high above the street. Inside, everything is polished and quiet. Voices are low. Laughter is careful. She is handed a badge and directed toward the service entrance. Volunteer check-in, a woman explains with a smile that does not reach her eyes. She nods and follows instructions, slipping into the role the way she always does. She does not see him at first. She carries trays. She refills glasses. She keeps her head down. The room fills quickly, suits and gowns moving in practiced patterns. Then the lights dim slightly, and a hush ripples through the crowd. The host steps onto the stage. "We are honored tonight," the voice carries, "to welcome our guest of honor, the man whose vision and generosity made this foundation possible." Applause swells. Her hands still. A name is spoken. Clear. Confident. Familiar in a way that makes her chest tighten. She looks up. He steps into the light. Not the man in the worn coat. Not the quiet presence at the bus stop. He is tailored now, composed, every movement assured. Screens behind him light up with images. Headlines. Numbers. A story told in clean lines and practiced praise. The applause grows louder. Her ears ring. She watches as a story is told about kindness. About a lost wallet. About a stranger who did the right thing. The room reacts warmly, smiling at the idea of goodness abstracted and clean. There is no name attached to the story, just a lesson. She understands all at once. The tests, the exact change, the offers of money, the card without a title, the watching. Her face remains still. He looks out over the crowd, then his eyes find her. For a fraction of a second, something flickers. Recognition, regret, hope. She does not respond. She sets the tray down carefully on the nearest table, straightens her badge, steps away from the light and the noise, and the story that no longer belongs to her. No one stops her. Outside, the night air feels sharp and real. She walks without running, past the valet stand, past the glowing doors, down the steps, and into the street. She does not look back. Inside, the applause fades. He finishes his speech on instinct alone, words delivered smoothly while his thoughts scatter. When he steps off the stage, he searches the room. She is gone. He asks a volunteer if she has seen her. The woman shakes her head. He checks the service hallway. Empty. He pulls out his phone. No signal where it matters. For the first time, there is no amount of money that can close the distance he has created. Across town, she boards a late bus and sits by the window. The city slides past, bright and indifferent. She watches her reflection in the glass, steady and quiet. She has said nothing, and somehow it feels louder than any accusation could have been. The morning after the gala, the city moves on as if nothing happened. Traffic fills the streets. Coffee lines curl out of doorways. Phones buzz with updates and reminders. Inside a quiet apartment across town, she sits on the edge of her bed and lets the silence settle. She does not cry. She folds the borrowed dress carefully and places it back into the bag she borrowed it in. She lines up her shoes by the door. She charges her phone, checks the time, and deletes 3 missed calls without listening to the voicemails. She recognizes the number now. She does not need to hear the words. At work, her manager notices the empty slot on the schedule and frowns. By the end of the shift, her name is crossed out for the rest of the week. No argument. No explanation. Temporary staff are easy to replace. She packs her locker slowly. Apron. Pen. A small notebook with grocery lists and reminders written in careful handwriting. When she closes the door, it clicks softly, final. No goodbye. Across town, he wakes before his alarm and knows something is wrong before he opens his eyes. His phone lies on the nightstand, screen dark, unanswered messages stacked like accusations. He sits up and scrolls through them anyway. Are you okay? Please call me. I need to explain. There is no response. At the office, assistants speak and pause when he does not answer. Meetings blur. Numbers appear on screens and mean nothing. At noon, he leaves without explanation and drives to the restaurant. The windows are bright, busy, ordinary. He steps inside and looks around, already knowing. Someone else stands behind the counter now, moving too fast, smiling too much. When he asks for her, the manager shakes his head. She does not work here anymore, he says. Effective immediately. He waits outside for over an hour anyway. She does not come. That afternoon, he goes to the bus stop where they first met. The bench is empty. The schedule board rattles in the wind. He sits down and waits, hands folded, watching strangers pass. He stays until the sun dips low and the streetlights flicker on. She never appears. In her apartment, she moves with purpose. She cancels her phone plan. She forwards her mail. She packs what she can carry and leaves the rest behind without ceremony. By evening, the room is bare again, like she had never been there. She takes a bus across town and gets off in a neighborhood where no one knows her name. She finds a small room for rent above a closed shop. Cash only, no questions asked. She agrees and hands over what she has left. That night, she sleeps without dreams. Days pass. He searches quietly at first. He calls the restaurant again. He visits the library. He walks the blocks they once shared. Each place answers him the same way. She is not here. She was here. She is gone. He begins to understand the shape of what she has done. She did not confront him. She did not accuse him. She did not demand an apology or an explanation. She simply removed herself from the story he tried to tell. The absence is total. Weeks later, he sits alone in a conference room and stares at a report he asked for but cannot bring himself to read. It outlines the foundation programs, the metrics, the outreach. The language is polished, efficient, detached. He pushes it aside. For the first time, he sees the flaw clearly. He did not test kindness to protect it. He tested it to control it. He tested it to observe it from a distance where he could decide its worth. And she refused to play. Somewhere across the city, she stands behind the counter of a small cafe that opens early and closes early. The pay is lower, the hours are longer. No one here knows her story. That is the point. When a customer forgets a wallet on the table, she picks it up and places it behind the counter without thinking. When a coworker struggles, she steps in. When she locks the door at night, she does not look back. She has disappeared completely. And in that silence, the man who thought he was testing the world finally understands that the lesson was never about finding someone good. It was about what happens when you treat goodness like an experiment, and how little power remains when the subject chooses to walk away. Months pass, not the dramatic kind that announce themselves with clear endings, but the quiet kind that stack one ordinary day on top of another until change becomes unavoidable. For him, time no longer moves in quarters or headlines. It moves in mornings where he wakes up already tired and nights where sleep refuses to come. He stops searching for her, not because he stops wanting to find her, but because he understands that looking is still a form of control. Another attempt to pull her back into a story she chose to leave. So instead, he turns inward, to the parts of his life he has kept carefully organized and untouched. The foundation meets the following week. The room is full of polished language and familiar confidence. PowerPoint slides. Outcome projections. A discussion about expanding the undercover program that once made him feel proud. He listens in silence, hands folded, eyes fixed on the table. When it is his turn to speak, he does not follow the agenda. "We are ending it," he says. The room stills. The undercover evaluations, the testing, all of it, he continues. "We will no longer measure people by how they behave when they think no one is watching. We will measure ourselves by how we treat them when they are." There are questions, pushback, concerns about efficiency and data. He hears them all and answers none of them the way he used to. "We do not need proof that kindness exists," he says quietly. "We need to stop treating it like a resource to be mined." Policies change. Grants are restructured so recipients do not have to perform gratitude. Applications are simplified. Anonymous approvals replace interviews that once asked people to explain their worth out loud. Staff are trained to offer help without conditions, without stories, without tests. It is slower, messier, less impressive on paper. It feels right. One afternoon, while clearing out his desk, he finds the wallet. The same one. The leather softened now, edges worn. He opens it and removes everything except one folded receipt, water-stained and creased from the night it fell beneath a bus stop bench. He places it in a drawer and closes it, not as a trophy, but as a reminder. Across the city, she builds a life that does not look like a victory from the outside. The cafe opens at 5 in the morning. She arrives before the sun, unlocks the door, and turns on the lights. The work is harder. The pay is lower, but the rhythm is steady, and the owner treats people with a quiet respect that does not ask for explanations. She saves slowly, she eats better, she sleeps more. No one here knows about the gala, or the man on the stage, or the way silence can bruise. She likes it that way. One evening, a coworker mentions a new community program that helped her sister pay a medical bill without paperwork or interviews. Just help. No questions. She listens, curious but guarded. "It is different," the coworker says. "They just showed up." She nods and files the information away, not connecting it to anything else. She has learned not to trace lines backward. Back in his office, he signs the last document of the day and pauses, pen hovering. He could attach his name to everything he has changed. He could be seen, praised, applauded. He does not. Instead, he removes his name from the public materials and steps back, letting the work exist without him at the center. For the first time, he understands that redemption does not require an audience. Late that night, he walks past a bus stop without stopping. He does not sit. He does not wait. He keeps moving. Somewhere in the city, she locks up the cafe and steps into the cool air. A customer has left a generous tip folded beneath a cup. Kindness, she has learned, does not announce itself. And in different corners of the same city, two lives continue forward, altered not by reunion or forgiveness spoken aloud, but by the quiet, stubborn decision to do better when no one is watching. Not for love, not for reward, but because it is the only honest way forward. The first time they see each other again, it is ordinary enough to almost be missed. It is early evening, the hour when the city exhales. The cafe is closing. Chairs are stacked. The espresso machine cools with a soft hiss. She wipes the counter one last time and reaches for her jacket, already thinking about the walk home and the groceries she needs to buy. The door opens. She looks up on instinct, ready with a polite smile, and then stills. He stands just inside the threshold, not dressed down, not dressed up. No suit. No coat that looks like a costume. Just a man who looks like he belongs where he is, and nowhere else. He does not speak right away. Neither does she. Time stretches, thin and quiet. "I will come back another time," he says finally, turning as if to leave. "Wait," she says. The word surprises them both. He stops. She steps around the counter and stands a few feet away, keeping the distance she has learned to protect. "We are closing," she adds, steady. "But I have a minute." He nods. That is enough. They sit at a small table near the window. The streetlight flickers on outside. Cars pass. Life continues. I am not here to explain, he says, or to ask you for anything. She studies his face, searching for the familiar tension, the careful watching. It is not there. I changed how the foundation works, he continues. I ended the testing. I stepped back. I did not attach my name to it. I know through makes of Tada. I did not attach my name to it. She listens without interrupting. I am not telling you this to earn forgiveness, he says. I am telling you because you deserved the truth before, and because I know now that silence is only respectful when it is chosen. She considers his words, then nods once. Thank you for saying that. He reaches into his pocket and places something on the table. The wallet. Worn. Soft at the edges. He slides it toward her, then stops short. Not as a symbol, he says quickly, just as a reminder of where I failed and what you showed me. She does not touch it right away. When she does, she opens it and removes the folded receipt from the bus stop night. She smooths it once, then places it back inside and closes the wallet. Keep it, she says, pushing it back to him. He nods, eyes bright but steady. I do. They sit in silence for a moment longer, the kind that no longer feels like punishment. I like it here, he says, glancing around the cafe. So do I, she replies. It is honest. He smiles. Not the careful one she remembers. Something simpler. I am glad you found a place that fits. I made it fit, she says gently. He stands. I should go. She stands as well. Yes. At the door, he pauses. If our paths cross again, he says, careful. I hope it will be as equals. No tests, no stories. She meets his eyes. If they do, she says, we will both know why. He leaves. She locks the door behind him and turns off the lights. Outside, the night is calm. She walks home without looking back. Her steps sure. Her hands empty and unburdened. Across the city, he walks too. Not toward a waiting car or a guarded entrance, but along the sidewalk, blending into the quiet flow of people heading home. The story does not end with a grand gesture or a promise spoken aloud. It ends with something smaller, a choice respected, a line not crossed again, and two people who learned, in different ways, that love and leadership are not proven by how cleverly you test the world, but by how willingly you stop testing it at all. Because true kindness does not ask to be measured, and real change begins the moment you decide to treat people as more than a lesson.